Hey, what's up everybody? This is David from Babylon Sector, back at you again. This time we're going to play some Shadowrun Dragonfall. I've been on quite a Shadowrun kick lately, but let's just keep it going. This is the second game in the series. The first one, you know, it's pretty bare bones compared to this one, so I don't really want to jump into that one and play it. This one's much more fleshed out. Has a lot better story. We won't be as focused on the story maybe because there's so much dialogue, but I really wanted to jump into the combat, character creation, and kind of have that be the highlight of this playthrough. So yeah, let's jump in and we can kind of see what this game has to offer. So we'll play on normal. I really like this game. Really captures the atmosphere of Shadowrun. Closest to what the Sega version did back in '94. But we'll go ahead and create our character. You can see you can create male or female, typical type stuff. Humans, elves, dwarves, orcs, and trolls are going to be your 5 main races. For anybody who likes a tabletop game or listens to some tabletop podcasts, I'm actually going to create a character that's based on a character on the Arcology podcast, which is an actual play Shadowrun podcast named Maverick. And this character is going to be sort of a tribute to him because he's an awesome character. So it's going to be an elf. We can kind of go through the different things, but the street samurais, just like in the Sega game, individuals who are really good with weapons, just straight combat characters, lots of cyberware, stuff like that. Mages, pretty self-explanatory. They're going to cast spells, damage spells, healing spells, that sort of thing. Deckers are going to primarily specialize in the Matrix. So Matrix runs, hacking, that kind of thing, Decker's going to be pretty good at. Shaman are going to be a different kind of spellcaster that does a lot of conjuring through totems. So kind of like in the old Genesis game, Ricky, the rat shaman, and the orc bear shaman. You can kind of do some of that similar stuff with a shaman, and they're really more of like a buffing class, so maybe not as great in straight combat, but a really good sort of support role. Riggers are drone specialists. They're a little limited in this game compared to the tabletop game, because the tabletop game you can also engage in vehicle combat, and then physical adepts, and that's what I'm going to play today. I'm going to do a little bit of a weird build. Physical adepts in this game are mainly revolve around hand-to-hand and melee combat, but I'm going to actually make a gunslinger adept, which is a little more fleshed out in the tabletop game. But I've played through this with one physical adept, gunslinger type character, and it's really fun. Pretty strong, stronger than people may realize, so we'll go with that. We'll also go with an elf, because again, I want to, it's more of a tribute to Maverick, one of the strongest Shadowrun characters ever. So we'll go with this guy, and we'll go to stats. And just like in the old games, karma is how you sort of level your character up. So you can see I do have some casting abilities. This sort of casting, the chi casting, sort of gives you benefits to some martial prowess. But for this guy, we're going to start with some pistol skills. We have 1 point left over, which we'll probably just go ahead and bank. For this game, there's things called etiquettes, and this is sort of where you come from, and it can affect sort of dialogue choices and some things down the line. You can kind of see all of them. I'm going to go ahead and choose street. I would say arguably security and Shadowrunner may be more marginally useful, but since I'm sort of doing this as a sort of tribute to a specific character, we're going to go with Street because I feel like that's the best sort of representation of Maverick, and Maverick will be my name. So this is a top-down isometric turn-based strategy RPG, fairly heavy combat focused, but also has a pretty decent story. I'm gonna kind of I'm not gonna read everything because obviously I'd be here reading for the next like 15 hours, but I do want to. I'm just gonna give some basic synopses of what we're doing at the time. So the first mission is basically we're meeting the crew and we're infiltrating this old spooky looking manor. This person is Monica Schaefer. She's the leader of the team. Dietrich, he is a shaman. He's part of our core group. Glory is a street Sam, super cybered out, and her thing is that she's a little bit distant and brooding and like a tortured soul type of person. Eager, she's actually not with us now, but she's sort of back in the headquarters. She's a troll weapon specialist. I'm actually not going to use her a ton. I'm going to use Glory mostly because you do have to make some choices about who you don't use as the game goes along, and Eager is going to be one of the ones that I don't use. So we can go through the menus real quick. I mean, we have an informational menu that sort of shows us what our quest item or our quest information is. If we get any mission items, it'll be listed there. We can look at our character sheet, so you can see the points in chi casting, a little bit of range weaponry so far. Not a ton of charisma and intelligence. We do get the +1 charisma from being an elf. This build starts a little bit weak and then gets a little stronger as the game goes along. So we'll grab a weapon. We're going to grab the pistol since we specialize in pistols, and we'll we got some grenades and an adept spell, which I really won't use that much. The sort of idea behind this build that we're going to be working on here is going to be pistol combat with lots of buffs, quick movement, and you'll kind of see as we get into the combat how the movement will affect it. So this is the Harfield Manor run. This game really feels a lot like the old Bethesda games. I'm sorry, not Bethesda games, Black Isle Studio games like Fallout, Arcanum, Planescape Torment, etc. So we're in combat for the first time, and what you can kind of see is there's movement, so this is your movement here for one action point. You can kind of see up here everybody's portrait. Everybody currently has 2 action points. So 1 movement to get to here, but if I wanted to extend it, I could extend it to 2, but I would have no actions left. We can sort of go through and you can see you got inventories on the right, weapon skills on the left for each character, spells for the shaman, etc., etc. So and the whole point of this build is to sort of use these characters to help support Maverick, get these guys taken care of. So we're going to use Glory as a close combat specialist, so we'll have her attack. And the good thing here is that when she attacks, there's something called cover in this game, and as you can kind of see by the shields, if we were to move to this spot, we would have a medium cover from these 3 directions based on crouching behind the desk. If the shield is completely white, that's heavy cover, and if the shield is completely unfilled, that's going to be light cover. So you want to try to get into good cover situations before attacking. That way, if you take return fire, it's not going to be as big of a deal. Early on in the game in particular, aim shot definitely helps because you can see the percentages go up as we take an aim shot. So we'll take an aim shot at this guy, and we crit him, and he's done. So we're going to have a few more guys come down here. Lots of stuff in the environment is going to be you can interact with. So anytime you see that magnifying glass or that sort of hand tool type thing, that's something we can manipulate. So this security terminal, our decker can override the door. And see if she's with us at the beginning of this no matter what, but if we didn't have a decker, that option would be grayed out. So having a team with a nice variety of skills helps you have the most chance to do some of these different things. So we'll move everybody up. We'll get some cover behind some of these things, and you can see even light cover is better than nothing. You definitely don't want to be standing out in the open. You'll see them crouch down. And we got an orc and a human coming through the door. Flanking bonuses also help, so if you can flush somebody out, get around to the side of them, that'll always help. And you can shoot into heavy cover or medium cover, but you won't do as much damage, and your chances of hitting are lower like that. The computer tends to sort of be a little more aggressive, so you can kind of let them come to you in certain spots. So Dietrich, again, is more of a buffer. So you can see he's got an aim spell that sort of helps people hit a little more accurately. He does have a direct damage AoE, a heal, a haste spell, which is really, really useful for buffing Maverick, and a Dragon Slayer idol, which I'm actually going to cast, and that's going to basically reduce all incoming damage within this circle. So this guy's made a big mistake here because he's put himself into the open. Now he does have cover if we were coming from this top angle, but since he's got no cover back here, we should be able to take him pretty easily. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to haste and buff Maverick, and that'll let me get into position and then take 2 shots at him while his back's turned. And of course I missed. But Monica seems to be doing quite well, so... and then we just kind of move up, and it's very tactical that way. You just use the terrain to get yourself into a good position against these guys. Now see... What happened there is when you attack somebody at melee, it actually blows their cover. So instead of having the cover behind here, this person's now exposed, which allows Maverick to take a nice little pot shot and end her pretty easily. When combat ends, you actually just get control back of your character. So we'll go into the door we previously opened. When you see this sort of USB connection type thing, that's going to be for Matrix stuff. So we can select our decker, which is Monica, and have her jack in. So this shows you what sort of program she has, her cyber deck, and any special programs. So she's got an assassin special program, and I'll show you guys how that works as we go along. Matrix combat's pretty similar. You're going to have places you can hide behind, so you can see the medium cover there. So we'll just kind of move up, and then you see that we kind of get ambushed by some attack programs. So there's a basic attack, and then there's some special sort of programs. We can kind of go through them real quick, but suppression reduces this alarm state here. When this alarm state gets to critical, they'll start attacking us with black ice, and obviously anybody who's familiar with Shadowruns knows that black ice is no good. It'll actually deal physical damage to the person at the end of the terminal, as opposed to simply attacking their sort of matrix persona. There's also an area of effect spell, which is nice when they get grouped up. There's a damage over time spell, and then a heal. So we'll go ahead and start with the dot. It does some direct damage, and then 25 per turn for a couple turns. So we should be able to dispatch these guys pretty easily. And again, we can use cover and just be very tactical about it. Use the AoE. And as you can see, pretty effective. And then there's just a regular attack. I always like to start with the sort of AoE, the damage over time spell, because it allows me to do damage even if I continue to miss. That's done. When all enemies are cleared out of the matrix, you can sort of do these data stores, and just like in our other videos of the older games, you can get pay data. So right there we got some pay data that we'll be able to sell for a little bit of cash later on. A lot of the pay data stuff is optional side quest type stuff, so you have to have the decker, you have to know what terminals to hit, how to navigate through the matrix, etc. So like last time, we'll just sort of move up, see what's going on in this room. And you can see there's 4 guys sort of waiting on us here, so it's good to stay spread out because a lot of these enemies have grenades and stuff. Mages have AoE spells, so it's good to limit how much of that sort of affects you. So we clearly have a mage here, and there's a pretty popular Shadowrun saying, which is geek the mage. You want to get the mage out of here as fast as possible. So we'll take the shot at the mage and try to see if we can't knock her out of the fight as quickly as possible, which we did. These guys right here, like if you go into the open, you're pretty much toast in this game, particularly as an enemy. I'm gonna go ahead and let's see. I'm actually gonna. Oh, here we go. So sometimes if you see this skull, you can actually summon a spirit from the environment. So, and as you can see, Dietrich's able to summon this sort of crazy plague monster, which can then attack these other guys. And Glory's attack has small damage over time to start, and as she gets stronger, that attack just gets really ridiculous. So we'll just keep moving Maverick in. We'll just keep closing the ring here. But yeah, this is basically how the combat works in this game. And you can see when you get to where they don't have any cover, their chances of surviving go way down. When you go to your next turn, you have to keep control of your summoned creature, and you get to sort of dictate how many action points they do. So I'm just going to go with the max, and hopefully I won't lose control of it, which I didn't. And we'll start to keep trying to mess these guys up. And he's done. So as you can see there, the -1 AP that kept popping up, some attacks take away your action points. This guy clearly had 3 action points and we took them all away, so he's actually stunned. So I can actually get really close to him and take a last pot shot at him and end it for him, like so. And then we're just down to this dwarf over here that has medium cover. So again, we flush him out of medium cover with glory, or just kill him. So anytime you have an exit that you need to go through, it's actually highlighted in yellow, so it sort of helps you all along. Most of this is fairly linear, but it can get a little confusing later on in the game when the areas are a little bit bigger. So they're just having a discussion about how to get in through this door. And as I told you earlier, the fact that I don't have decking means that this character can't really do this option. So if I was a decker, I could say, well, I don't know how to take a crack at the door instead, and let me show you what I can do. Instead, I can just take one of these other options. Basically here, they're getting into a little bit of an argument about who's in charge if something were to happen to Monica. Monica's saying it's going to be me. This eager troll, who's a sort of military officer, really takes exception to my sort of being designated second in command. And this sort of conflict between the character you play and Eager sort of goes throughout the whole story. And she's fried. This is an important part, so I'll go ahead and read it. Without warning, Monica's back arches violently and her head jerks back, silencing her terrible screams. Muscle spasms ripple through her face and her jaw snaps shut, sending a mist of blood spraying from between her teeth. You look down to see a nub of pink flesh hit the floor, the tip of her tongue. So Monica's pretty much dead. But in her sort of death throes, she says the word Fürschwing, which is, as we'll find out soon, is the name of a dragon. But things don't stop simply because somebody dies, so we're down to 3 people. And this isn't a scripted event, so like this, you can't stop that from happening, unfortunately. So we'll step up, get a little cover. Aim shot really helps. But you can see that security guard has heavy cover. So we'll use her to flush him. You can see he's flushed out now. And is taking... Alright, so we'll chunk an AoE spell, and of course it misses. Continue to sort of move forward like we always do. Dietrich and this character Maverick really do have really good synergy together. Because the buffs really affect this class in a really nice way. Alright, so clearly this run has gone to hell. So at this point, the sort of the plan is just to escape. So we're working on an escape route, but it's going to take a minute for the door to open, so we just have to hunker down in place until they're able to get the door secured, so unsecured rather. So this is the door that's going to open up. You can see for 10 turns we have to figure out how to survive. So just sort of knowing what's going on, I know that there's going to be some enemies coming from this direction first, so I want to go ahead and get into position to start sort of taking care of some of those enemies that come through. You can see the ticker tick down to 9. I believe we should have somebody coming through this door next turn. Yep. And as you can see, since we sort of played it smart, now they're right in the open. Messed him up. Now we just got to deal with this drone, which shouldn't be too bad. Although I can't hit the broadside of a barn at this point. Alright, we got the drone down. And you can see we got some incoming here. Having played through this once is super helpful because you do sort of know how the enemies are scripted. And again, using cover is pretty critical here. So as you can see, I do have some grenades. Unfortunately, that's just like a non-lethal one, so we probably won't even be using that right now, to be honest. But we'll just move her up into light cover. So we missed technically where we wanted to shoot that lightning blast at, but no big deal. And in these games, focus fire is really the way to go. If you can focus fire your enemies down and just get them off the battlefield, it's usually the best thing to do. She's pretty much down. Oh, here we go. So again, another kind of scripted event in this thing. This security captain, you can't really kill him. So we got to figure out how to survive another 4 turns with this guy being in the way. So one thing we can notice is when you see this thing right here, like with the sparks flying out, we know that we can summon a spirit. So we can start to head to summon a spirit to sort of keep him distracted. We can also use one of these fetishes. Actually, I might go ahead and do this fetish here. Summon an elemental that can tie up this orc security captain, because this guy's no joke. He'll make your day a living hell. And like I said, you can't kill him, so we're better off just tying him up. And what we'll do is actually go to the other side of him. That way, if he unloads that submachine gun, he's unloading it this way and nobody back here gets hit. So we'll just keep attacking. And hopefully he'll make the choice to attack this spirit, which typically he will. As we can get closer to this door, which is going to be our escape route. So you can see he did choose to attack the spirit, which is good. Yeah, we just gotta survive 2 more turns. I mean, the spirit's got a decent bit of health. Heal. So the spirit's probably going to die at the end of this round, but luckily at the end of this round also we're going to be able to make our escape. So just waiting on that door to open. So I'm going to summon that spirit off the wall. And we're going to go ahead and start making our great escape out of here. If anyone dies here, you have to restart the level, so you really, the priority is just to get out. I mean, you can't, like I said, you can't kill this guy. So you just got to really get the heck out. And hopefully we haven't left Dietrich to the wolves here. He should be able to handle a couple of shots from that guy. Shouldn't be the end of the world, but again, we'll just use these spirits to sort of aggro these guys. And so he took a crit, but not the end of the world. And I guess since there's a summoned creature, takes away some action points. The same way the rigger and the drones take away action points. See, as that spirit died, we're back to 2, but we're getting out of here. So, you know, we figured this is a trap. Should have been an easy milk run, as they call them in Shadowrun, but obviously that was not easy as Monica died. So the game overall takes place in Berlin. Which is like an anarchist-free state at this point in time. So lots of German-type words, things of that nature. So this is the Cruise Bazaar, and basically this is the little free city that we sort of inhabit as our hub. For anybody who's played Shadowrun Returns, this is a little less linear, but it's still fairly linear. but just a little more freedom to do some things within the city, but there's no going from city to city or anything like that. So I guess with that concluded, we will take a break here. That was the first mission in Shadowrun Dragonfall. This is David with Babylon Sector. If you guys want to hit me with a like, a follow, let me know what you think, and we'll see you next time.